Welcome to Christian Reacts, where we have Christian content online and all over the world. Today's topic is DINKS, and this is from Father Josiah Trentham, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, and he'll describe what that is and what that means.
Hey everyone, God bless you, and thanks a lot for tuning in. My reflection today I've entitled DINKS. DINKS. This acronym comes from a movement, a very popular movement today, of couples who refuse to have children.
We're DINKS. We can go to bed at 9 p.m. and still complain about being tired.
We're DINKS. We have a pet that we treat like our child.
We're DINKS. We get to be the fun aunt and uncle.
We're DINKS. We buy plane tickets instead of presents.
We're DINKS. We spend money on things that we want, like boats.
Dual income.
Let me slow it down a little bit. So this is really, obviously, abominable to be able to, the fact that you're able to have children and you're married and you choose not to have children just to enjoy your gluttonous lifestyle of buying boats and all these things is absolutely against God's purpose for us on this earth. Our purpose is to multiply and follow his word. And this is just an absolutely terrible thing to allow people to become gluttonous and just to continue with their selfish ways instead of bearing and creating the fruit of children in the world, which is which is one of the greatest blessings of marriage.
No kids, D-I-N-K, dual income, no kids. Yesterday, there was a fascinating article on this phenomenon in the Wall Street Journal, and I read it, and I thought to myself, I have read so much in the last few years about DINKS that I should say something to encourage the DINKS who are watching or are tempted to be DINKS, some of our followers who are tempted to be DINKS. Let me say, if I can, a few words, if you'll open your minds and your hearts to me for a moment. 44%, according to a 2021 Pew Research survey, 44% of people between the ages of 18 and 49 report that they fully expect to have zero children. Zero children.
Wow. Unbelievable.
There are many reasons that children are being rejected today. I want to address some of those in a second. But this vision of couples being together but refusing children, this is really, really awful. Of course, at its heart is a wrong valuation about the preciousness of a child and the preciousness of parenting. The idea that couples can be happy and perhaps even happier as long as they refuse the responsibility of conceiving and raising children. This is what lies at the base of this movement. It's an expression of outrageous selfishness, that even if couples in this or that culture had these ideas in the past, they certainly wouldn't be championing them and defending them in the public square, because even pagans, not just Christians, not just religious people, but even pagans know that without children there is no future, and that families are for children, husbands and wives are for children.
I mean, absolutely. This cannot be more true. I mean, not even just the Christian faith, but so many religious faiths that are false. Even they promote the idea of having children. But I'm not even going to go there because this is a Christian-based YouTube channel, so I'm not going to even talk about that. But this is absolutely right. We are going through a very dangerous time where there is a lack of reproduction really with married couples in the Western world. I mean, this is one of the greatest catastrophes in Europe, especially, where Muslim children, I believe Muslim offspring, are outnumbering British offspring somehow like 6-2 or 6-1.8, and this is a dangerous precedent that's being set because there's more children that are coming into the world. And every child is a blessing, obviously, of course. But the fact that Christians are not having children is a huge, huge problem. It's something that cannot be ignored. It can't be scoffed at or just ignored, because even Elon Musk and so much data shows this, that it's a false thing that we don't have enough resources for the next generation because there is a lack of reproduction right now, and it's very scary.
In fact, in the wedding service of the church, we read two magnificent Psalms, Psalm 126 and 127, about the glory of children being a reward, the fruit of the womb being a great gift from God to the couple, something that will inspire their day and their night. They'll look around their table and they'll see their children like multiplying olive shoots, just producing beauty and love and joy. This is what family life is about. This is the fruit of marriage. St. Paul would be mesmerized by the concept that couples should not have children so that they can save their energy and save their money. This is the boast of many of these dinks, is that they have 2 incomes and no kids, meaning that they can save their incomes. Oh, yeah, they bought a condo instead of renting an apartment. Oh, yeah, they have a 401k. We just might ask them, for what? For what? St. Paul says it's the responsibility not of children to store up for their parents, but of parents for their children, he says in 2 Corinthians. This is just basic. This is basic. We work in order to provide for our children, and that is a great happiness. It's not just a moral commitment. It's a moral commitment that expresses love and helps bring our children into adulthood.
And this is absolutely true, because as a man that's speaking to you all right now, there's nothing that gives me more satisfaction than providing for my family. Now, I don't have a family yet, disclaimer, but as someone that's not married yet and that will be soon, it's hard for me to just simply work just to pay my own bills, or just to work just for myself. And it's a very selfish way to live. And I couldn't imagine just working and having money just for myself to buy material items and not to provide a future for my children. I mean, it's just terrible. And exactly what he's saying. Like, what's the point of saving for retirement and saving for 401k if that money is not going into the next generation? And outside of just donating to charities, providing that financial stability for your children is a absolutely beautiful concept of life.
Because we labor for the glory of God and for the upbuilding of our neighbor, not so that we can have a house ourselves with no one in it except ourselves. In the article and in videos referenced there, dinks celebrate their lifestyle, their anti-children lifestyle, through several avenues. I'll mention 4 of them. One is they celebrate their dogs, as though somehow a dog can be a replacement for children.
This is laughable. I mean, a dog, don't get me wrong, pets are great to have for certain people, and it's a fun companion to play catch or throw a frisbee with here and there, but they are not a replacement for children, for someone that you could raise in the Christian faith, for someone that you can have a godly relationship with, that the Bible states comes from God as a blessing for marriage. A pet is just a pet. You can get a pet anytime you want. You can get a pet when you're 60, 70, 80 years old, but children you cannot have at any time. There's a sense of perfection that God creates with marriage, and his design for it to be holy, as sex is to be only in the bounds of marriage. And for us humans that are bound to our lustful desires, and I am 100% bound to my lustful desires. I fall prey to this every single day. And yet, marriage is the best antidote to it. Because as humans, we are suffering in sin all the time. And to be able to deal with our lusts in marriage, in holy matrimony, which is why weddings happen in churches, and why even people that aren't as religious, they have a wedding in a church. Why is it a beautiful thing to have a traditional ceremony in a church? Because wedding is traditional. Wedding is tradition. No matter what anybody wants to say in the modern age, a wedding and a ceremony is meant to be a tradition. That's why the wedding always comes prior to the reception, because that is the basis of the rest of your life.
I think these dinks, we should answer them with another acronym, DAFC. Dogs are fake children. DAFC. Dogs are wonderful. They're wonderful to put into the family mix. I've always had a dog or dogs growing up and very much enjoy dogs. But they are not children. Not even close. Not in any world can a dog substitute for a child. The dinks also fear the caregiving that is demanded of people in parenting. At least they're showing that they recognize that parenting is a great challenge. But to put off that challenge out of fear is a terrible mistake and a terrible loss. If we don't do great things that are before us because we're afraid of the sacrifice that it will take from us, then we won't actually have the happiness, the satisfaction of accomplishing anything of significance.
This is so true. And I think so many times we're afraid to take risks. We're afraid to go into the plunge with any challenge. But the idea that children should be forgotten about is such a huge mistake, because so many people say that time goes by so fast and we only have one life. We have to live it to the greatest significance and to serve our Lord Jesus Christ. In order to do that, we have to have children when we're married, or at least if we're able to do so. And so many people say that having children is the greatest gift from God. I remember so many people say how wonderful it is to work and have a great career, but coming home to children and your family is one of the best gifts, because it makes a hard work day even more rewarding.
Everything of significance is greatly challenging and takes great investment. And
absolutely, I cannot agree with this. Someone that used to run for not a career, but just used to run in college and high school and practice and work hard and diligently for hours every single day to achieve my best results. Every sacrifice reaps its reward. Your works reap reaps and sows the rewards and outcomes that you get. And every challenge grows a relationship and makes it stronger.
One of the greatest investments that any couple can make is the investment in conceiving and bearing and raising children to the glory of God. In this article, what the couple said that they would have to work less and take care of their children. They were worried they're going to have to work less in order to raise their children. What a strange concept of work. This, of course, is flowed out of the feminist movement from the 60s, where work came to mean work outside the home, as though domestic work, the management of a home or your state, is all not work.
Yeah, which is absolutely a lie. Having the domesticated responsibility of keeping a home clean and God-fearing and raising children in the Lord is a task that is way more important than a corporate job. I mean, I can't even tell you. It's way more important. It's not a brainless, dead-end job where you just clock in your hours and you're getting your paycheck bi-weekly and you're coming home. It is so important to be able to raise children in the ways of God, and to say that having that responsibility means you have to work less to be with your children more. And what are you going to miss out? These cocktail hours at work, or these fake relationships with your coworkers where you don't even like each other. You're basically faking your relationship just to get ahead in the corporate ladder, so that you can get a better job, so that you can work harder in the office, so that you miss out on all these activities with your children and your family. And it becomes a rat race for what? You gain more money. Great. Sure, you're able to go on great vacations, but what? You just do that with your wife and no kids, and it just becomes an endless cycle where you're not growing together with the fellowship of God with children, and it's very sad. And I would never want this to happen.
I would argue just the opposite. The most important work is what goes on in the church, the work of worship, the work of service and ministry. The second most important work is the domestic sphere, where the image of God is born and raised, and families are cultivated for the glory of God. The exterior work, the work in the world, the work for the public, is very important, but it supports the work of the church and the work of the domestics in the domestic sphere. Not vice versa. The glory is not the state. The glory is the church and the family. And the state is designed to shelter, nourish, and protect the church and the family. The work
and the state has really screwed many traditions and family, especially with Christians, for so long now. Well, not so long, but more recently, with the introduction of so-called same-sex unions and putting marriage and gay together doesn't make sense. So it's very hard for me to even say that in the same sentence. But ever since the 2013 Supreme Court ruling in the United States, and of course all around Europe, with France having abortion in their constitution now, and all these things, it's an abomination. It's awful. And the state right now in modern times is absolutely betraying it's alliance with family. And family, I mean traditional family from the gospel, the nuclear family, not this family of two fathers or two mothers that is unnatural.
The work of the church is supreme. The work of worship of the true God. The work of the family is of eternal value, cultivating love and virtues in the home. So DINKS should abandon this concept, I think, of defining work, the only significant work, as the work that they're doing in their flower shop or at Starbucks or in the office on the computer as that significant because it gets a paycheck. If that's the case, then, of course, our Lord Jesus Christ, and his most pure mother, for that matter, have no significance, which is, of course, obviously ridiculous. Our Lord is the most significant person in the world, and the Mother of God is the greatest woman who has ever lived. The Mother of God never had a job outside the home.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, God never said that our work. I mean, we're supposed to work for God with all our heart and work for God, not for men. And if our work is going toward supporting the family, as a father should do in its role, then it's fantastic. It's great. But this idea that two people need to work just to fulfill their gluttonous lifestyles is just ridiculous. I mean, it's unbelievable. There's so many times where I even found a study. I think Jordan Pearson was doing an interview with Chris Williamson on the Modern Wisdom podcast where he said something ridiculous where I think 50% of women, I forget what age group it is, but 50% of women, when they're a certain age group, would be single and childless at the age of or 45%, something like that, would be single and childless after 30 years old when they chose not to be. It wasn't their choice. They would rather have children, but they're forced not to because of the biological clock that ticks. And it's absolutely sad. It's awful. It's ridiculous. And this is the lies of feminism, the lies of these college institutions that say you can put off marriage and have more financial security. And again, having financial security is very important. It is, but your relationship with God and the family and the church is of greater importance. Finding a godly spouse is of greater importance. And I can't state that enough. So this video goes on, but that will end it here. I will link this video in the description section below. This is from the Patristic Nectar Publications YouTube channel. Please like, share, follow, and subscribe for more content that you enjoy, and thank you so much for listening.